Welcome to the AACFB's 2021 Meet the Funder/Associate webinar series. My name is Monica Harper. I'm the Executive Director for the AACFB. Our presenters today are Brendan Fallert and Gerald Leverett from FileInvite. FileInvite is both an associate member and a sponsor of the AACFB, and I'd like to thank them for their support of the association. Before I introduce FileInvite, I'd like to go over a few items that make this webinar more enjoyable and informative for everyone. During the presentation, you should see a Q&A box that allows you to ask questions. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit them in the question box, and they should be answered by the end of the webinar. The entire webinar should take no more than about 30 to 45 minutes. For those of you who would like to review this webinar at a later date, it will be posted on the 2021 Meet the Funder/Associate page of the website, and it will be emailed out to the AACFB membership. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Gerald. Gerald, it's all yours.
All right, thank you, Monica. Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to be here with you and look forward to presenting a little bit about our company as well as providing you with a demo. Just a kind of quick agenda. I'm going to be starting off with a quick presentation that just gives you a sense of the sort of problems that we solve before then passing it on to my colleague Brendan, who will be leading our demo. So with that, I'll go ahead and share my screen and get this presentation going for you guys. Let's see here. All right. So I'd like to start off with a quote from my favorite motivational salesman, and that is to always be closing, or ABC for short. I'm sure that some of you are familiar with this film, but if you haven't seen it, this opening scene alone is definitely worth your time. So let's jump into it. How do we close more loans? What is it that you need? Well, we've put together this very sophisticated and expensive flowchart here that you see in front of you. And really, we found that if you have your documents from your clients, you're going to close, or at least certainly more likely to close. However, if you don't have those documents, you're not likely to close, and you're essentially going to pass out 0 loans. So it's pretty clear that you need your documents, right? But how is it that you guys are getting documents? How are people in the industry getting documents? Well, there is the old way, which is to send an email. And what we found is that most lending institutions, brokers, or any associated fields are in fact still using emails to collect these documents. And so once you've drafted up your email, typed it up nice and sent it out to your client, that's usually followed by something that looks a little like this. So a couple things that happen, right, that I'm sure you're familiar with is that emails often bounce. Files can be too large to share, and so that usually results in someone having to send multiple emails just to get a few of the documents across. Sometimes customers do nothing when they receive an email. They see the long list of due diligence items and they think to themselves, well, you know, it's probably better if I just put this off into the weekend when I have time. And then next thing you know, you're looking at 2 weeks, 3 weeks before they even get around to it, because it can be a daunting task. Something that's a growing concern in the industry right now is emails are actually getting hacked. So there's a lot of security concerns around emails. Clients and end customers are starting to get a little more savvy about these things and share some of that concern. One of my personal favorites is, and I'm sure many of the members here have had experience with this, but files often come back incorrectly. You know, maybe Bob is asked to send in a picture of his driver's license, but for some reason he sends in a picture of his wife instead of his actual driver's license. So then that kicks off another email chain, right? And then I think one that we can all kind of identify, myself included, is that your inbox is likely to be a mess. And so just hunting and digging through that for files and email conversations that span vast amounts of data is often pretty difficult, right? So this is ultimately what you're left with. This is what we get. We all become panic monsters because we're trying to get a deal closed, and just having a hard time chasing down these documents, right? So you're in a panic, and then your little friend there down at the bottom right corner of the screen, that's your customer. He's also in a panic because closing date is nearing. So what have we learned here? We're basically finding out that if you're wasting time chasing documents for your clients, you're ultimately not going to close the deal. So something that I think everybody can understand and appreciate is the timeless sales motto that time does kill deals, right? And so again, we've put a lot of money and a lot of resources into this very sophisticated chart that I'm about to show you that relationship. As you can see, you spend less time collecting documents, that usually results in more deals, more money, right? Very sophisticated stuff right here. So next, we'll just turn very briefly to look at the customer endpoint, their viewpoint, and understanding what the modern customer is, right? So here he is. This is your modern customer. Your modern customer is looking to handle every aspect of their life, from banking to social activity, social lives, and even shopping. All is being done online through apps for the simple fact that it's easy and it's fast. So what is it that they're coming to expect? Well, they are looking essentially for a seamless digital experience. As I said, easy and fast. So let's just take a quick recap here of what we've learned. We've learned that documents are needed to close loans. We've learned that the longer a loan is outstanding and the more time it takes you to collect those documents, the less likely you are to close that loan. And that by conversely, you're going to close more deals if you can actually collect those documents faster. And then we've also learned that customers are expecting that seamless digital experience, fast and easy. So enter FileInvite. And the big question is why FileInvite? So I'll just recap a couple of items here before we dive into the demo. So it's important to know that FileInvite was created specifically for the purpose of collecting documents and sensitive data. So that is the main driving force behind our software. But it's very simple and very easy to use. And that's for brokers, that's for lenders, and that's for the end customers. So all parties that engage in this process are going to find this platform very simple, very easy, and quite intuitive. But some of the more exciting things that might perk up your ears here is that we're actually seeing around 50% gains on processing time. So your efficiency is essentially skyrocketing. And for a lot of businesses that we work with, we're finding around 10 to 20 hours of time is saved per application. Another feature that we have is the ability to automate and integrate into your systems seamlessly. So, whether you guys are using, an enterprise level loan origination software or a CRM, or perhaps you have just a simple repository like a Google Drive or, SharePoint or any of these other tools that serve as a sort of a dump site, we actually integrate with those quite well, and actually are seeing a lot more efficiency as a result of those integrations. So what that means is you're going to be more effective, right, with your clients. You're going to be more effective at closing. In the commercial lending space itself, we're actually seeing 34% increase in actual completion rates, loan application completion rates, that is. So we're speeding up the time to approval, which is ultimately leading you guys to close more loans, which is, I think we can all agree, the important factor here for everyone. And then finally, that leads to happier customers. At FileInvite, we kind of pride ourselves in a very high rating in customer success. And again, we're able to do that because we're driving a seamless digital experience, which is what they've come to expect. We find that 77% of customers are more likely to recommend up to 11 friends after having worked through this process with us and our clients. And what that basically means for you as business owners, whether you're a broker or a lender, is that you're going to get more referrals because the experience was such that it warranted them talking to their friends and saying, hey, you know, we had this great experience, and this is ultimately what we want to continue doing moving forward. So with that, I'll finish off here with just a couple notes about us as an organization and it being a proven solution. So here are a couple of the brands and companies that we work with, some of which you may recognize. But again, we work with lenders, we work with brokers, banks, and just really any institution that has a high volume of due diligence checklist items and collections efforts. We're used by over 500,000 customers worldwide, and we are now processing over 20,000 finance applications per month. So this is something that has been rolled out to several users and to great effect. So to see how, I'll now pass it on to Brendan. One last thing though, of course, for anybody that is interested in discussing this further with us, there is going to be a fine set of steak knives available for you. And yes, thank you for your time, everyone. And I'm going to go ahead and pass this now finally to Brendan.
Magic, thank you, Gerald. I will make sure that I don't come in third place. What I'm going to do today, guys, is I'm going to run you through a very quick demo at a fairly high level of FileInvite, what it looks like for the users and what it looks like for the admin. So I'm sure you can see my screen there now. So this is the admin side that people will see when you sign into FileInvite. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to ask the customer to supply us with information. So we're just going to come up to this create new invite section, and I'm going to send a new invite. Now I can send that as myself, or I can send it on behalf of other people in the organization. So one of the cool things about FileInvite is now we're not working with the customer just in a sort of a one-to-one relationship via email. We can actually collaborate on the back end. I'm going to add in a few users, so I can add in multiple users to receive this request. I'm going to load in a template, and so we have a template. What we do is we set up a template for every different situation that your borrowers are likely to be in. So for example, if you're doing a multi-family loan, we might send you an invite with specific information requests. We might cut that up into phases. Or in this case here, I might just load a SBA lending application form, but we would set up lending application forms for whatever situations you're lending in. And then here we can either replace the invite or we can merge with invite. And so what we're doing here is the replace is we're bringing in all of the individual document and information requests along with the subject line and all of the text associated with the invite. Now with the merge invite, that's if we're building our own invite. And so sometimes you might have different information requests go to every customer, in which case you'll merge in individual request items. But when you've done that, you'll essentially see up here, you can put the property address. And you can edit any of this text, and you can edit any of the information requests here. Much like you would if you were sending out an email, you might say, actually, we don't need this particular request, so you can delete it. You can edit it so that it's only going to a particular person that you've sent that invite to. Or you might ask for, say, proof of identity, and you might want to say, actually, we need both parties to receive this. So as a general rule, we don't care who supplies this information to us, but for that proof of identity, we want both parties to supply that information to us. Or there might be an ad hoc piece of information that we want to request. So it's a fairly flexible system in terms of what we're asking for, but most of the time you'll just load that template, select the due date, and hit send. So we'll get the opportunity to review that, make sure everything's correct, and then send the invite out. And that's basically FileInvite. Then you just sit back and put your feet on the table. So I don't see any questions at that stage. So what I'll do is I will jump in to show you what it looks like to return information. So once we've sent that invite, the customer is going to get an email, and they're also going to get a text message if we've put their mobile number in. That's going to have the logo of your organization and the color scheme of your organization loaded into that email. And it's going to have the messaging here that you saw in that title and subject box. And the customer simply clicks on that Get Started button, and it will open up the customer portal. Again, you'll see here that we've got the ability to customize the logo. So it's your logo, it's your color scheme. We can even customize the URL and make it look like it's part of your website if you need us to. The first thing the customer will see is a video, which is a 40-second video that explains to them how to use FileInvite. However, it's a fairly simple product to use. So I'll just show you how that works. We've got a list of the documents here that have been requested from us. So essentially all the customer needs to do is click on one, to click Upload Files, and then select the documents that they have either on their PC or if they were on their mobile device, what they would be able to do is they would be able to click that Upload Files button, select the camera on their phone, and then take a photo and send that out. That's actually a huge benefit for the customer. So if you think about, say, taking a picture of their passport or driver's license, typically what customers are saying they're doing if they're having to email that back to people is they have to take a photo. They generally email it to themselves. They store that with in a folder where they're gathering together all of the documents that they're going to provide to you, and then they're sending that through. And there's a few sort of steps in that process. Here, they can simply open this on their mobile device, and it's optimized for their mobile device when it's on their cell phone. And they literally just take that photo and hit submit, and that document is saved. We can also make these requests. So these ones here, we were just asking for information, and they could just come in and upload a document. We can also make these requests read-only requests where we're supplying the customer with a disclosure statement or some other information that we want to make sure that they've got access to. And that way we'll also have a record that they've been sent that information. Or we can actually make those documents that we send to them a fillable form. And so, for example, that could be an application form. It could be you getting them to sign the disclosure form. And so they can come in and they can fill in any form that you have at the moment. We can digitize that and build that into the solution. And they can also sign those, and that gets a digital signing certificate appended to that application form or to that document. So that's essentially it. And the benefit of using a system like this, as Gerald said, is that what we're seeing is typically customers will get documents back to you 2 to 3 times faster than via a tool email. So I think working with Fundera, they were measuring on average it was taking something like 42 days to get documents back from their customers, and they got that down to 13 days. We've seen other situations easiest system for the customers to use. But I think more importantly, what it does is it makes it easy for them to remember where they're at the process, because they can come in, they can return 1 or 2 pieces of information when they have some time, and they don't need to remember what they've returned. They can simply see here, I've returned these 3 items and these ones are outstanding. One of the other things a lot of our customers said is that as documents start to get returned, often messages can be missed and additional information requests can be missed. So we've got this little section on the right-hand side where you can communicate with your customer. And that just keeps the messages and the communication separate from the documents that are being returned. So all fairly straightforward there. What I'll do now is I'll jump back across to the invite. And so this is the invite that's been returned. So this is the admin side. So this is what you would see. You would be able to come in here and see, I've sent this invite out. I can see that it is progressing and that 3 of 9 documents have been returned. And there's a few things we can do here. we can view the portal on behalf of the customer. So if the customer has emailed us something or they've supplied us with a hard copy document, we can take a photo of that or scan that and upload that into FileInvite so that all of the information we're collecting is coming into the organization in the same manner. I'll pop through some of these additional things just quickly. So we've got some additional options. We can change these before sending it or after sending the invite. So we can adjust the due date. We can adjust where the documents save, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail shortly. We can change the due dates and the reminders, and we can even come in and add reference IDs or password protect the portal. And if we've got anyone helping us with back office support, we might want to change the notification user so that we're not getting the notifications that somebody else is. We have our history, and the history is basically every action that has been undertaken on the portal. So there's a record and a log of all the actions that get taken. We've got our messages section, so we can come in here and we can reply to any messages that we get sent. But sort of meat and potatoes of the game happens here in the requests section. So here we can see all of the information as it's being returned. We can open up any of these here and check that information to make sure that it is the correct information that's being returned. And if we determine that for some reason that information is incorrect, what we can do is we can reject that document. And we can explain to the customer why we're rejecting this. This document has expired, for example. And so what that does is that gets rid of a lot of the back and forward and the confusion around when people send through the wrong information, particularly when it comes to a form. For example, the customer often won't know the difference between an SBA 1919. So if you're referring to that application form, they've got no idea what that is. So being able to highlight exactly which request item that you need their attention to focus on is super valuable. What you'll also see here is that every document that gets returned, what we do is we're going to check those, we do a virus scan of them, we convert them to PDF, and we rename them. So now you've got all of the information coming into the organization with the same naming convention. So that can be super useful as well. We might also come through and check and see some of this information is correct. So what we'll do now is we'll jump back into the customer side and see what the customer is saying. So the customer then, as they're coming back into the portal to supply you with additional information, they'll be able to see that these items here have been marked as complete. They can see here, this one here, there's a revision needed. So this is the one we rejected, but we don't want to hurt their feelings. So we're not telling them that we're rejecting that information. We just tell them a revision is needed in the portal, and they get that revision needed. And so they know exactly which piece of information they need to pay attention to. They can see the explanation that we've provided. They can come in and they can delete that information and upload additional information. And when they're finished, they can hit the finish button. And so that will that will update that information in the back end. Once they've finished uploading everything, all that remains really is for you to get your hand on the documents. So there's a few different ways you can do that. So one is you can download all of the documents as a zip folder. That zip folder will contain both the converted PDF documents that are renamed, as well as the original files, and any application forms they've filled in. All of that information that they've keyboarded and typed into that application form will be on a CSV file. You can also do a quick collation of all of the files into a single PDF, or you can select some of them if you want only some of those documents to come through onto that PDF. And so that will just set that up as you can see, as one big PDF of all of those documents that we've uploaded. So you might be either storing that or sending that to somebody else. And then the two other ways you can do it is if you are using a tool like Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive for Business, some of those cloud storage tools, you can actually set up a synchronization so that as the customer is uploading the information, it's automatically syncing all of those documents through into your cloud storage solution and potentially onto your PC, so that you can then drag and drop those into other systems like a loan origination platform or a CRM. And then the final way that we can get this set up is you can potentially access our API. And so then using what's known as a webhook, you can actually automatically pull these documents through to an application of your choosing. And what we've found is by using a solution like this on the back end and automating a lot of these features and making that communication super simple. And also, I did touch briefly on the automated reminders. The customer is going to be sent reminders until they've returned everything. We've found by doing that, we're cutting down the amount of time people are spending chasing up documents. And so that can be anywhere from, I know one of our SBA clients said that they were spending around 2 hours 20 of their staff time was spent per application just chasing the information down. They reduced that to 20 minutes. So there was about a 2 hours time saving per application for them. And they were able to save a massive amount of time across the organization for that. For the more complex loans, we're finding time savings can be, as Gerald said, anywhere up to 10 to 20 hours or more, just having that central place where all of that communication takes place. And so there's a massive time saving there. And then the third thing that we're finding is that by taking all of this out of the inbox, it makes everyone's life a bit simpler, but it also, there's an increased security by not having all of this confidential information held in emails. And so, yeah, we're seeing a massive benefit from not only the customer side, but also the staff side by using a tool like this. So before I jump into any questions, what I'll say is if you are interested in finding out any more, feel free to connect with either Gerald or myself. We'll also get in touch with you guys following this webinar. We do also have a 2-week trial that you can sign up for. So if you go to the FileInvite website, you can click this sign up button here, and you'll be able to set yourself up on a multi-account. So a multi-account allows for up to 3 people access to the system. You can set up your own templates. You get full access to the system. You can send out a few invites to yourself to test the system, and you can see how it works internally, and then maybe even send a few out to your customers and see how it works for you over that 2-week free trial period. So yeah, if that's what to do if you're interested. Gerald, have we got any questions?
We just had the one so far about pricing, which I let them know that it's dependent on user base and overall volume of invites. So if anybody has questions specifically around pricing, we're happy to discuss that, as it does vary on a case-by-case basis. Everybody has different needs, so we can certainly address that.
Yeah, and as a general rule of thumb, the pricing, it comes down to about an hour or 2 worth of staff time. As Gerald said, it does depend on the complexity of the number of people that we set up on the system and the complexity of the solution that we end up setting up for you. But we're finding most of our customers would find the ROI for the annual cost of FileInvite that hit that in the first month or 3, depending on how complex a system we set up. Cool. Integrations, do we integrate with CRMs and websites? Good question. We do, I'll thank Gerald for his time. I know he has to dash. We do integrate with some solutions, and we're happy to look at building connections to other solutions. So with CRMs, we do have a webhook that we can put forward that you can integrate with your CRMs. We also have a widget that you quickly what the widget looks like. So this is what the widget looks like. You can customize it and it floats on your website. And essentially what that allows people to do is send themselves an invite, which means that someone might visit your website, send themselves an invite, and by the time you sit down at your computer and you get the notification that they've sent themselves this invite, they might have already supplied you with some financial statements, their application form, a proof of ID, and some of that basic information that you need before that first meeting. Did see a quick question there too about pricing. Pricing can range anywhere from, I think it's about the cheaper end can be anywhere around $20 US a month, right up to sort of $100 US a month per user. It generally ends up in that sort of middle range. But yeah, get in touch with us, and we can, even if you just send us an email, we'll be able to send you an idea of what the pricing will look like for you, based on a couple of questions that we'll send through to you. Does this work well with Zoho? I know a few of our customers who do use Zoho, but I haven't actually spoken to them to how well it works. Typically, what we'll see is people will start using FileInvite as a standalone solution, and then as they get to understand how it works, they'll build those deeper integrations. Sometimes they find that they don't actually need to build those deeper integrations because it can take a bit of time to build some of those integrations. They'll say, actually we're saving so much time just using FileInvite that actually dragging and dropping the files to where they need to be from like a Dropbox is suitable for our needs. So I would suggest get up and running with the trial solution or the paid solution, and then if you need to look at further enhancements, that's typically done as a stage 2. Everything that I did show you, however, in that web app that I was showing you, can all be done via the API. So there are a lot of, all of those features can be built into a CRM. You can also connect with tools like Zapier. And so I know a lot of people will use Zapier as a really fast and easy way to connect FileInvite to their CRM so that they can change the status of something in a tool like Zoho, and that will automatically send out a FileInvite. Perfect. Well, it looks like that's all of the questions there. And so now I'll hand it back to Monica.
All right, great. Well, great information. I know a lot of people probably have some questions after the fact, and we know FileInvite is on our website. The information is, if you go, our members can log into our members only section and navigate to the benefits and savings, and then there is a tab there for FileInvite. So the contact information is there. There's some pricing information there as well. So if anybody has any questions afterwards, please don't hesitate to look there. And with that, since there's no more questions, we'll wrap this up. I want to say a big thanks to all our participants, and especially our valued associate member and sponsor, FileInvite. Thanks for a great job. We look forward to seeing everyone again on the next Meet the Funder/Associate webinar. And we invite you to reach out to Gerald or Brendan if you have additional questions. Thanks again, and have a great day.